Why does a little stress sharpen our minds, but too much shuts us down? Stress often gets a bad reputation. We blame it for our headaches, poor sleep, lost productivity, and burnout. But here's the paradox. Stress, in the right amount, can actually enhance performance. It can focus our attention, boost memory, and give us the energy to overcome challenges. The problem isn't stress itself, it's how much, how long, and how we respond. At the heart of this paradox lies a classic psychological model called the Yerkes-Dodson Law. It suggests that performance improves with arousal or stress, but only up to a point. After that, further increases in stress actually start to impair performance. Picture it as an inverted U-shape. Too little stress leads to boredom or disengagement. Too much leads to anxiety and overload. The sweet spot, moderate manageable stress, is where we feel challenged, alert, and motivated. Think of preparing for a big presentation. A touch of nervousness sharpens your focus. Your heart races, your senses heighten, and you're suddenly more attuned to your slides and audience. That's your sympathetic nervous system kicking in, releasing adrenaline and cortisol, mobilizing glucose, increasing blood flow to the brain and muscles. Your brain is in go mode. For short bursts, this kind of acute stress can enhance memory retrieval, increase cognitive flexibility, and improve reaction time. But what happens when that stress continues for hours, days, or weeks? The very same chemicals that help you in the short term begin to take a toll. Chronic elevation of cortisol starts to impair the hippocampus, a brain region critical for learning and memory. You become more reactive and less reflective. Your attention narrows. Decision-making becomes rushed or error-prone, and creativity shuts down. This paradox is particularly visible in high-stakes environments, military operations, emergency rooms, sports competitions. A moderate level of pressure can bring out peak performance, but too much causes even elite professionals to choke or freeze. Interestingly, individual differences matter greatly. What counts as optimal stress for one person may be overwhelming for another. Factors like resilience, past experience, personality, and support systems shape how we interpret and respond to pressure. So, how can we use this paradox to our advantage? One key strategy is stress inoculation, gradually exposing yourself to controlled stressors to build tolerance. Athletes do this through intense but time-limited training. Public speakers might rehearse in front of small audiences before stepping onto a big stage. Even students can simulate exam pressure with timed practice tests. The goal is not to eliminate stress, but to learn to perform under it. Another is reframing stress. Research shows that people who interpret stress as a challenge rather than a threat release different hormonal profiles, more adrenaline, less cortisol, and tend to perform better. It's the same arousal, but with a different mindset. We can also focus on recovery. Just as muscles grow during rest after exercise, the brain also needs downtime. Sleep, relaxation, and social support help metabolize stress hormones and restore cognitive function. Without recovery, even moderate stress becomes cumulative and toxic. In a world that often pushes us toward relentless productivity, it's important to remember that stress is not the enemy, it's a signal. At moderate levels, it sharpens us. At high levels, it warns us to step back. The paradox of stress teaches us that the goal is not to live stress-free, but to find our personal zone of optimal pressure and to stay balanced on the edge between challenge and overload. The paradox of stress refers to the observation that moderate levels of stress can enhance cognitive and physical performance, while excessive stress impairs focus, decision-making, and memory. This non-linear relationship, known as the Yerkes-Dodson Law, suggests that stress is not inherently harmful. Rather, its effects depend on intensity, duration, and context. The paradox challenges simplistic assumptions that stress should always be avoided, revealing that a certain amount of pressure may be necessary for peak function. Students under mild academic pressure often perform better on exams, but when anxiety crosses a threshold, they may freeze, forget, or underperform. It's like tuning a guitar string: too loose and the sound is dull, too tight and it snaps. The right tension makes music. Stress is a physiological and psychological response to perceived challenges or threats, triggering the activation of the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis and the release of cortisol, adrenaline, and norepinephrine. These hormones increase alertness, focus, and energy in the short term. However, if stress persists or intensifies beyond the optimal window, these same systems become dysregulated, impairing brain function, especially in the prefrontal cortex and hippocampus, which govern memory, decision-making, and emotional regulation. Air traffic controllers need high situational awareness under pressure, but sustained overwork leads to errors, delayed reaction times, and burnout. It's like a car engine designed to run at 4,000 RPM. It performs best under some load, but redlining it for too long causes it to overheat. The arousal performance curve arises because mild stress increases dopamine and norepinephrine, sharpening attention and stimulating the brain's executive networks. These chemicals promote learning, pattern recognition, and motivation. However, as stress escalates, these systems become saturated, leading to working memory overload, emotional dysregulation, and behavioral rigidity. The brain shifts from flexible problem solving to habit-based or reactive responses, undermining performance in complex or novel situations. Surgeons often perform best under moderate pressure in high-stakes environments, but during extreme emergencies, panic can override procedural thinking, leading to mistakes. It's like turning up the volume for clarity, but once the sound becomes too loud, it drowns out the music. This paradox reflects a broader principle in complexity science. Adaptive systems require a dynamic balance between stability and challenge. Stress serves as a signal that mobilizes resources, but it must be contained within homeostatic limits. Too little challenge leads to boredom and disengagement. Too much disrupts order. This principle is echoed in resilience theory, where systems that endure shocks without breaking often rely on pulses of manageable stress to remain robust and adaptive. In military training, soldiers are exposed to controlled stressors to build psychological flexibility and resilience, ensuring they perform better under actual combat conditions. It's like exercising a muscle. It grows stronger when challenged, but tears if overloaded without rest. This stress reallocates biological energy, increasing glucose metabolism, cardiovascular output, and neural activation. These resources are diverted from long-term processes like digestion, immunity, and neurogenesis, making the organism efficient but short-sighted. Chronic stress leads to wear and tear, allostatic load on the brain and body, while acute stress sharpens performance. Sustained elevation leads to cognitive fatigue, inflammation, and structural changes in key brain regions. Chronic stress in caregivers has been shown to reduce hippocampal volume over time, correlating with memory loss and emotional blunting. It's like turning on all the lights in a house during a storm, bright at first, but eventually the generator runs out of fuel. From an information theoretic view, moderate stress enhances the brain's signal-to-noise ratio, improving focus and filtering irrelevant stimuli. However, when stress escalates, information overload occurs. The brain narrows attention too much, limiting creative problem-solving and flexible thinking. Decision-making becomes more heuristic, impulsive, and risk-averse. Thus, the same stress system that sharpens clarity can, when unbalanced, truncate access to higher-order cognitive strategies. In high-pressure stock trading, seasoned professionals perform well under time pressure, but when cortisol spikes due to volatile markets, traders begin to take irrational risks. It's like dimming the lights to see the stars. Helpful in moderation, but too much darkness blinds you completely. Understanding the stress performance paradox can transform how we train students, athletes, leaders, and creators. Rather than eliminating stress, environments can be designed to modulate it intelligently, using challenge to boost engagement and learning while preventing burnout. It also reframes stress as a tool for growth when managed correctly. This insight influences educational policy, workplace design, and creative leadership, highlighting the need to balance rest, recovery, and stimulation. Schools implementing stress inoculation programs, short-term challenges followed by reflective recovery, report improved student performance, confidence, and emotional control. It's like walking a tightrope with a net. Balancing pressure with safety makes risk productive, not paralyzing. The optimal stress level varies by individual task and context, making one-size-fits-all approaches ineffective. Some people thrive under pressure while others crumble. Identifying stress thresholds, developing biofeedback tools, and incorporating personalized coping strategies is key. There's also need to reframe stress as trainable rather than avoidable, teaching emotional regulation, mindfulness, and mental rehearsal as part of performance preparation. Wearable devices that monitor heart rate variability are being used to assess real-time stress and recovery balance in elite athletes and executives. It's like tuning a racing car for each driver and terrain. Every mind has its own optimal gear ratio for performance. In the future, adapted stress modulation may become central to mental health, cognitive enhancement, and AI-human collaboration. Integrating neurofeedback, real-time monitoring, and AI-driven stress analytics may help individuals and teams maintain peak performance under pressure. Ultimately, the paradox of stress teaches us that performance is not about removing all difficulty, it's about harnessing the right amount of challenge at the right time, in the right way. Some research labs are developing stress-adapted virtual environments that increase or decrease challenge based on cognitive load, guiding users to an optimal arousal zone for learning or creative work. It's like sailing by adjusting the sails to the wind. Performance isn't about avoiding gusts, but learning to ride them skillfully.